For now, however, let's start out. I want to get started out with a shout out. I want to give a shout out to Matt Eisenberg and the X-Dogs on their victory on Saturday night in the Keystone Flag Football League Championship Finals. A resounding 40-0 victory. The X-Dogs proudly represented us up there. In 11 games, they only allowed a total of 8 points.
Whew.
That's
dominance.
Pure dominance.
That's dominance.
Start to finish. The Dogs, KFFL champions. So we're proud of them. We'll be glad to have them back in the fall.
Showed those guys what football was.
Oh, yeah. And I'll be the first to say, anybody from Keystone who wants to come down here Saturdays or even Sundays this spring, come down. We would love to have you. There are still 3 weeks left in the regular season. You can jump on a roster, get the experience.
Come play some more football.
Yeah, come play with us, man. And let me tell you, it's going to be a bit of a different experience because we have this weird concept called downfield blocking. I think you're going to really dig it.
Tyler and you guys with the rules.
A little low, but he does pick it up. He's starting towards the end zone. 81, 101. Oh, he comes down with it, and that's the game. The X-Dogs are the champions.
All right, and we now present the champions of the league for the first year, X-Dogs.
Eisenberg to the right. Oh, Sean Moats with a sack! Swolberg coming in. Snap to the right. Steps up. Rush coming. Did they got him? Yes, they got him. What a sack. Strakowski. Right? Yeah. There you go. Strakowski on the sack. Snap high. Stay looking. Lead him getting away. Making moves with his hips. Right in front of us. Is he still gone? Tay spins in. He says he's got a touchdown. What a play.
And Anthony with the pitch back. It's caught. He's running out to the right. He has a blocker. And he's pulled down at about the 20. And the kick is up. Doesn't have it. And it's good. TBT with the walk-off kick. TBT.
Pick dirt. Pick dirt.
Pick in the end zone. Pitch to back to Tyler. Tyler pitch to the Cody. Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Woo! What a fucking play! And Joey is excited. I'm showing 3 down D linemen. Pat coming off the right. Oh, and he pulled the Oh, Pat! Oh my goodness! Pat just bulldozed for the sack! Hold on. Got it! Touchdown! Spartans! Snap is off. Looks ready. Throw back to the left, and it's intercepted! And it's intercepted by the big man! Tight end. Snap is off. He looks to his right. He throws it up in the end zone. And it's caught for the touchdown!
Their last circuit championship was 2015. Is the game passing them on? Fires it up. Oh my! The answer is no. Touchdown, X-Dogs. 4th down, here we go. Incomplete. Killer Bees are your 2021 Spring KFFL champion. They defeat the X-Dogs 22-14 in a battle that came down to the very end. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Extra Yard with Mr. Keith Giles. Here he is, Mr. Champion himself. Keith, welcome to your show.
Oh, thank you for the introduction to my show, Mr. Blaze. That is a wonderful looking backdrop that you have, sir. And I would like to say officially that I have a new woman in my life. And Joey, like you have shown me, the new woman is this beautiful KFFL Spring Championship.
Oh,
and
man.
you know,
Hey.
Mr. Blaze, I know exactly how you feel now. You know, it is quite a feeling to be able to be on air in front of all of our friends and brothers and be able to show off this wonderful gold. So, Killer Bees, Spring 2021 champions. And like I said in my prediction, whoever won that Spartans Bees game was going to go on and win the championship. And sure enough, that's how it rolled.
And that's how it rolled indeed. Killer Bees defeating the Tri-State Spartans in that classic, that thriller.
That you were talking about on the last show, Joey, about what may be the top game in Keystone history. I think that B Spartans game, that's up there in the top ranks as well. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
I would 100% agree with you, Mr. Keith Giles. That game, along with several others, this was the greatest KFFL season of all time.
Yes, absolutely. And when we had said we thought that would be how it went at the beginning of the season, it sure as hell played out that way. This was, all of the games were fun to watch. Even the first half of the Outlaws X-Dogs game was at least watchable. So it was definitely a good day for football.
It was a great day for football. It was one that I'll never forget. And looking back at all of this, you know, the opening video package shows where everything was when this league began 3 years ago. You had me and Tyler congratulating the X-Dogs, but some jabs thrown in there at the KFFL talking about teaching them boys how to play and all the other stuff. Yeah, we were assholes on Uncut. Uncut was a great show, but we were assholes. It was a great show. That's going to be coming back soon, like next year. Going to post the old show. Trying to figure out what's going on, but like I'm looking forward to seeing how it's all going to play out. But looking at that, it's amazing how much has changed in the perception of the Keystone Flag Football League in the context to where 9-man is. You know, the other week I was telling a player at OMFFL, you know, 5 years ago, if you wanted your taste of 9-man, you had to come all the way to Hagerstown if you were looking along the 81 corridor. Whereas with in DC, Baltimore, you had to go to Maffle. Sure, there are other leagues that pop up here and there, but those were the two places to be. MAFL and the Washington County Flag Football League. And now here we are in 2021. We were talking last night about the OMFFL, how they're having their best season ever. Their playoffs about to kick off in 2 weeks. That league is at least 9 teams deep. KFFL, we ran 7 deep this year. Every team was competitive. Yeah, you might have had the Outlaws who struggled a little bit, but at the same time, when you consider how teams have done over the years and how this league has evolved. You watch that first clip. You have a Killer Bees player calling the touchdown on that play because the players were the officials when the league began. There were no referees. Yeah, they didn't have access to referees. The resources weren't there. The referees weren't given to them by Andy or anybody else. They just went and did their own thing. KFFL was started as an independently owned league that wanted to play the sport in 9-man and grow it in Shippensburg, where not many people remember, but 15 years prior, the Shippensburg League was a pretty big deal. It died 10 years earlier. In fact, 10 years to the year it died, KFFL was born. The new Shippensburg League, yeah. And it's really awesome to see Shippensburg 9-man be revived in the form of the Keystone Flag Football League. And it's really impressive to see how much has changed over the years from X-Dogs dominating to different teams starting to come in and try to play with players coming in and making a name for themselves as big parts of the league. You saw Sean Motes in that package. He's a 3-time champion now. You saw Tay Sosa in that package. He's a 2-time champion now in KFFL, been to 3 title games. You saw Matt Eisenberg in that package. He's still making plays. He's still making championship appearances. He's a KFFL icon. Keith Giles. You talk about everybody else going on. I found a lot of clips in there that were great. I think I found a clip of Tanner Carty playing quarterback for the Bees. That's an interesting one.
Tanner stepped in there a couple times in the early years. There was a time in the
like a TJ Holston vibes. He could be like a TJ Holston type.
No, I like
he got extremely quiet as soon as I said that.
He's found a home at linebacker. He's found a good home at linebacker, and he plays some tight end for us too when needed. So, yeah, he was a baller on the one drive against Venom, I do believe, where he had 2 pulls and a pick. That's a one-man job on defense. He went in, got the pulls, got the interception to turn the tide. Y'all stopped Lucas multiple times in that game. It was crazy to watch and see how Venom played so well in that game. They did
extremely well. That defense played the best it ever did. That was the classic West Virginia team. We can't seem to finish in the end down there.
They played just like they have all year, except the best. They had been scrappy the whole year. They had fought in every game all year. You couldn't expect any different in the playoffs, and that was probably the best game they played all year.
That D line was insane. You had Pat Freedom, Cash Curry, DeMar, Bo from Ducks was there. I don't know if anybody remembers Bo from the West Virginia Ducks. Yeah, but Bo was there. Bo from Ducks. Yeah, dude, Bo's a beast. What?
Never heard of him.
Okay. Bo was one of the best pass rushers on the West Virginia Ducks. He was part of the stout D-line unit that featured me, that featured Bo, that featured
It sounds stout.
No, we had a couple other guys. It's been a couple years. I gotta get back and watch the Duck film. Hold on, we had some all bro. That dude, I was the number 9 on that D line. That tells you how deep that defensive line was for the Ducks. That I ended up as the number 9. Me with circuit experience, having played for the Red Knights and having played against BC, the Blue Chargers. Sir, I had 30 snaps in that game. Andy knew what he was doing. He knew that I could go after Mike D. That's for the Warriors show tomorrow night. We'll save that material for later. Back to the Bees Venom game. Bo was there. You had Bo, Cash, and Pat. Big shout out to them. They were busting the rest. Bo was going both ways. That's my guy. Shout out to Bo. Shout out to the Virginia Ducks. Venom. Venom is actually pretty close to being more successful with Ducks and Survivors. Yeah.
That guy.
Yeah.
Almost looks like Collins threw me off for a second.
Yeah, I thought that was Collins too. I was like, that's Ross's cousin, Bo.
Whoa.
Yeah,
I
Bo.
got no clue, but he's way too old to be playing.
Nah, it's Bo. Gotta give a shout out to Bo. Bo, my guy. He had Josh Wheeler too, but he quit to go to TNT. Well, we had Bo. They had Bo, they had Pat, they had Cash. That's a good combination on the D-line rotation. I'm disappointed to see that Kenny Wells and him, I guess, had a fallout. Kenny was sitting over on the other sideline for the game. Hopefully he finds a better spot, something that fits for him. Shaving to the fallout there, I thought he was a good asset for them, but sometimes things don't work out.
Yeah, he was early on, he was a good, reliable target for Lucas. Really, because Lucas didn't have much time in the pocket, and Kenny, did those quick rollouts. But unfortunately, whatever happened.
Yeah, and so it's sad to see that, but at the same time, Venom's defense played so well that the only thing they're truly missing is you got to think they held Tay Sosa to 7. Now, don't get me wrong, it's Tay's first game, kind of with those guys. Like, don't get me wrong, he does have Tyler in there, he does have Lurie in there, Carlos is there, so there's some familiarity there at least. But you got to give it to them for the fact they held Tay to 7. That's crazy to think about from a team like Venom that a lot of people, I don't think, were expecting to do anything this year. A lot of people were thinking Green Machine 2.0, here comes second-gen Survivors, here come the West Virginia Ducklings. What are we going to get? No, this team's different. They got the same mentality and attitude on the field, but this team is different. Lucas is going to be a threat going forward, especially if something were to change, because it's hard to tell what's going to happen in the KFFL next season. This whole everything right now is in the air. If we'll talk about that a little later. But looking ahead, thinking about things going forward, Venom looks good. They're in a good position. I got a lot of confidence in them going forward. Shout out to Johnny Cocho for that first-year team. Shout out to Lucas Hall for stepping up as the guy on offense. He needs some big bodies up front to block for him. I'd say hit up some of the West Virginia guys. Hit up Danny Longerbeam. We need Danny Longerbeam in the KFL discussion. How y'all not mentioning Danny in KFL discussion? He hasn't been up here yet, but he's going to come up here if he joins Venom. Big signing. Big facts. Hit up other guys. What's Vicente Hernandez doing? Anybody. There's a lot of West Virginia guys down there. A lot of big bodies. Maybe them in the Spartans. Nah, it's not going to work out with Lucas. That's right. My bad. But, I like what I see. The fact that there's at least like 3 different teams from that state in this league is wild to me. There's more West Virginia teams than Keystone and Maryland teams. But there's more Maryland players than Keystone and Pennsylvania players. Next topic. Next game. Carry on. It was Primetime Villains. You watched this one. You covered this one. Who do you think villains were missing that stood out the most? Because I think if Tivis had been there, would have been a huge difference.
Well, Tivis being there would have made a huge difference. Obviously, Boone not being able to be there was a miss. But, they had a fair amount of guys there. They had a fair amount.
I think Chris Boone had his priorities in the right place on Saturday.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It was the better weather, kind of. Jamie was saying it was pretty hot down there. Hey, shout out to my guy, Jamie Wolf, for going live over the weekend down there in Florida. I think Chris Butte went live, too, for AFFL. Shout out to Showtime as well for getting the dub in that. Congratulations to our guys here in the 4th state going down there and winning that. Chris Boone has another one to his resume. 9-man A, 5-man pro, Washington County, KFFL, He could win always Mills in 2 weeks. Hagerstown A 2017. Now AFFL 7-man got a bid. He's playing for $200,000. Cool. I think he made the right choice on Saturday. Where was Tivis though? Hold on. Was Tivis in Florida with them on Showtime? I mean, he'd be a big pickup. Don't get me wrong. If I would bring Chris Tivis in 7-man non-contact would be a huge pickup for any team. You saw his coverage skills for the Reckless Villains in that highlight package earlier on with prime time in that first game. Spartans. He picked off Keenan. With Tivis' skill set, I would have thought he'd be out there this weekend with Boom, but where was he? He wasn't in OMFL Sunday either.
He was not.
Do you know who was at OMFL on Sunday? Wayne was. Wayne was at OMFL. So where was Tivis? We heard a lot from Tivis this weekend. Tivis, where were you? I get it. Boone's in Florida playing for $200K. I don't blame Boone one bit. Boone can do what he wants. Go ahead, win that, Chris.
Yeah.
That's all you, bro. That's all you. You don't need to win KFFL again. You already own this league. It's over. You're on the 4th seed. Conquer Florida. Conquer the world. Go to the Olympics in 2028. Man, Chris Boone in the Olympics. That'd be amazing.
Right.
LA's gonna have it, dude. We ain't gonna have it. 2028, 5-man at Olympics. Chris Boone going for the gold.
That's 65 years old. Oh man.
Let's keep going. But yeah, Villains prime time. Give me your perspective on it. Looking forward to Chris Tivis' comments after the fact when he's watching it live. Put on tape. Tivis had family obligations. Okay, I get that. Probably like visiting in-laws or something. We'll see.
He's on vacation.
Family obligations. You know how you didn't miss it. You know how like last year you missed the championship for the same reason. You had family obligations. Well, you were also injured, but if you'd been there, it would have been different because you would have still shut down things in corner, and our sideline would have been cool, 100% cooler, and you would have been there for the championship photo. What's that?
I'm the most athletic lineman that's ever played in KFL.
I think you and Tivis need to line up in big man next month. We'll see about that. I don't know. Let's see. But like I was saying, prime time was short too. Bob comes on the show. We talked about prime time, and then there's no Bob. Hopefully Bob's doing all right. The schedule change probably messed things up a little bit for him. I know Howard Holton was a little upset. He was trying to squeeze in at least one of the playoff games. Our man Howard Holton on prime time. He plays for the Cumberland Valley Hitmen, also part of Shippensburg Parks and Rec next door. He was out there playing during the playoffs on Saturday. He was going to try to sneak in at halftime, but unfortunately can't quite get away with that in tackle football in semi-pro. So he ended up instead going and traveling about 2 hours of the road for another game. He had a doubleheader. All kinds of athletes playing in this league these days. But you take a look at this game, primetime Villains. Keith, give me your breakdown, your perspective of what happened. Because as you saw at ending, that touchdown was awesome. This was a very underrated game, in my opinion, that gets lost in the shuffle of all the other great games out there.
Yeah, I liked it. Primetime, they seem to have just a little bit more left in the tank towards the end of the game, which the villains started to kind of die down in the fourth quarter. TJ had left a couple plays early. I don't know if he hurt his leg or frustration or what. But yet they were starting to give up towards the end, and Primetime showed that they wanted to continue on in the tournament. They were moving the ball well. The Villains defense was not really able to hold them out of the end zone. And that's my take on it. Primetime just lasted longer and wanted it more.
Yeah, I think that's how it usually goes in the end when two people have like a really intense battle between one another on the field. Is that whoever wants it more in the end is going to get it. And in the end,
whoever scores most points.
Yeah, but in this case, this was a dogfight. Like I watched a little bit of it from the car, and it looked intense. Like those two teams were really going at it. Much different game than the shootout they had. Much different game. Like
Yeah,
this one, yeah.
this was a body up kind of game. This was a this was a contact game. This wasn't just throw it up and let your receiver catch and run.
Yeah, like that. This was an old school flag football game between two teams that TJ, he bases his offense a little bit around 8-man. He comes from that BFFA 8-man style. They come from the YAFFL 8-man style, which is a bit different than the BFFA 8-man style. Which if anyone's looking for work, July 17th, 18th, if New York's doing a tournament, just win 8. So I recommend if you want to try something, you get 3 up down linemen, but it's a little different. If you look for bump this summer, a little different, go to that. Because this year they came down here and played with us. I'm really glad to see that with York. I want them to come here again, though, in the fall. Because prime time to me this season was a team that people will say, yeah, we'll make fun of them over the whole snafu and the Spartans, that entire fourth quarter collapse. Yeah, most embarrassing live moment probably in their franchise history. But they were competitive every game. They were in every game, no matter what their personnel was. Like, they were coming out ready to go. And it, for the most part, was just, a team of guys from the same league playing together in an effort to try to win another league. And I felt like they played extremely well all season, and they definitely had a potential to win it all. But for them, they just fell short in the end. But this Villains game, I'll give it to them. Like, they deserve that win. That was a good moment for that team. Like, that's a good feel-good moment to have for that day, was getting that game-winning score, no matter what happened in the X-Dogs game. And we'll get to that in a moment because, like I said, this team was competitive. Like, primetime was no slouch this year in the Keystone. Yeah, they deserve credit for how well they came out and played. Like, some might get mad about maturity issues and stuff like that, but
Yeah, I think they learned a lot this year too, though.
yeah, they learned a lot. Like once you get them hip with how the community is around here and get them part of it, they're gonna be good. Like everybody else will be good. It's like you gotta understand the culture of Four State's way different than a lot of other places. Like we're just a different area. And I think that's what makes the Four State great is just how different it is compared to a lot of flag football territories. And I really am glad to see that they are a part of what we're doing. I really do want them to come out next year again. And I not even just them. I want to see other teams from York. Like I know some of them play with Gusto and 717, but all 3 of them are in Charm City Classic, or at least 2 of them are. I want Baez too. This needs to happen. Baez Auto needs to make the jump to the Keystone Flag Football League.
Come on down. Come on down.
Seriously, that's an open invite. Like Baez Auto, if you want 9-man smoke, I know they don't offer it right now in York. I know you all play Sundays in York. We're offering you Saturdays this fall in Shippensburg to come out and play some 9-man, because I want to see if you guys truly are the best team in PA when you don't play anywhere else in the state. I'm not going to lie. They are the best overall. I'm just going to say that first. Yeah, you're all screwed at bias joints, especially with Misfits. Oh, boy. Hey, we got to make that happen. We got to get that Misfits Baez game going. Hey, I'm a huge fan of it. Bring in Baez Auto. Get them into the KFFL next year. I'm psyched about Misfits, though. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
We got a lot to talk about tonight. It's a busy night, Mr. Keith Giles. It's a really busy night. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I agree, Mr. Ross Collins. But like I was saying, when you take a look at this next game, X-Dogs Outlaws, we saw Matt's touchdown catch. That's all you had to say.
That was epic.
That was an amazing play overall. Bro.
That happened right in front of me along the sidelines. And I mean, the defender was right there. He played it well. But it was just the Matt effect. It was beautiful. I was happy I got to witness it right up front, right up close.
Dude, that's just how Matt does it, man. You got to look at the career of Matt Eisenberg and what he's done over that career. Yeah, he just balls, dude. That's what he does. He comes out there every week. He will do it out with your defense, huh?
That guy.
Yeah, you can't sleep on Matt. He's somebody that you don't sleep on. Like you got to be awake when Matt Eisenberg takes the field. But yeah, that game wasn't very close. It was about 21-0, I think was the final.
Yeah.
Outlaws. Man, we got
Joey, Joey, I want you to give the Outlaws one closing little bit of love at the end of the season here. Give them one positive thing.
You gotta let me get to that. You gotta let me build to it. This is how I gotta let me build to it. First and foremost, I'm gonna be honest. It is tough building a team from the ground up, especially right now when you are building in KFFL, but in competing with the Killer Bees, who have a lot of established players on the team. Which that's the thing. Eric has done a really good job getting the Killer Bees going from the ground up. He's built a lot of homegrown talent in the process of winning the league twice and being in 4 championship games overall. You take a look at where this team was. I remember when I first watched them years ago in Gettysburg. It just did not look good. ADR gave it to them, but it's ADR. They just weren't ready. But this team has grown and made tremendous strides. Outlaws, on the other hand, it's been Spartans first, which Spartans won their first 2 in KFFL early on that first season, but then they didn't win another for a year and a half to beat the Gators. And then their final 2 wins were against Green Machine and last season. Right. But the thing was, like, I felt like they were making strides last season. I felt like they had something going, but of course, I feel like there was just it was a different change in direction. There was a rebuild again with some of the core pieces still there. Like Caleb's been there forever now. He was actually quarterback on Saturday, which was different. I wasn't used to seeing him going back there. He didn't do bad. Like he did try. Like he really did. I give him props. I give him credit. I give all those guys credit with the Outlaws. The biggest thing they seemed like they were missing was just having that guy and competing in a league that had gotten a lot heavier since they had joined. They didn't have a lot of guys from the outside either. They stayed very, very inclusive to the guys they brought in. Like, I think the only real established guy was Rome coming in, which Rome came out for them, and he did make some plays, but other than that, it was a hard team to grow. Cranfield, too. Cranfield was out there. So they had a few veterans, but overall, it's just not enough to really win in a league that's a lot different than the one that they started with KFL years ago. And, they've always recruited locally. It's always been a locally recruited team. It's just hard because, like I said, Franklin County, 9-man is still developing. Like, X-Dogs, they had a lot of control over that area for years. And when you have no league in the area and all you know is Hagerstown and one team, you tend not to know it. Because one team, you're only going to have about 20 to 30 guys give or take. One league, like guys sometimes might think, why would I want to drive down to Hagerstown to play when if you don't know anything about it, So it's like you got to introduce the game, you got to grow the game, and with them, if you keep building up the Franklin County area, you keep building surrounding areas, you get more talent to play, pull in some veterans who will help out and grow your team. There's many ways to do it. Grant, like I said, he's going to need time. He's going to get there. Give it time. Who knows? Like me personally, I do feel like the potential is there. It's just this was a tough year to just jump in because Venom is a little more seasoned. They're led by guys who've gotten experience. Like Johnny and Brandon have all been through many different systems and pipelines. Came in with survivors, worked with the Ducks. Both were under Swole in the program. They were with that team for a good bit. They were there to the very end on program. Both Johnny and Brandon were. They were with us at one point with TBT for a tournament.
And so it's like you got guys who have worked with people who know the game, so they've learned off of them, they've grown off of them, they've had their own style to it. Tough draw there, prime time, a lot of experience. Like, don't get me wrong, like it's one thing to jump to 9-man from 8-man YAFFL style, which is actually a lot more similar to 9-man than what it is to 8.
Right.
But it's another thing to go from never playing the game or having some experience here or there to jumping into 9-man. It's a hard transition. There's a lot of things you got to learn early on about the way you play and how it's not as simple as, well, we'll just play it like we did in high school. Like, you have to go out there and do things a bit differently than flag football and learn ways of playing the game and be smarter about it. It's just how it goes. And then you take a look at the other teams in the league, X-Dogs, Experience, Bees, loaded up with talent. Spartans, the developed team, has a lot of experience and talent on it. Villains, loads of experience on the Villains. Tough league for the Outlaws. They have a chance to grow. I think they'll be fine. It's just, this was a big rebuild. Like they did have some of the key pieces left, but right now with where they're at, it's going to be a tough route, if only because of the fact that the league around them is getting stronger. But if they stick with it, they'll get better. It takes a while. Ross, you lost your first 17 games as a coach with the Warriors.
Well,
You all were 0-17. Well, okay, you weren't in charge in the first 17 or fully, but you were there at the start. You were one of the guys in the T-shirts in week 1 when you played Ruckus. Yeah. Yeah, and Ruckus knew more about 9-man flag than you guys did. You didn't know anything. The guy with the most experience was Keith. Not you, Keith, but Keith Cameron. He had the most experience. And yeah,
we had 12 guys.
12 guys. It was tough for the
Play
Warriors.
both ways, all day.
Yeah, Ross went both ways. You know it's bad when Ross has to go not just both ways, but special teams as well. Ross was everywhere that day. It was a tough one. The Warriors grew very quickly because you saw how the team grew over time, Ross yourself. You saw that quick change, especially once you got to that 4th season when you won Washington County, be in a very strong, deep league like what KFL was becoming. And so with that in mind, I could definitely see the Outlaws potentially growing into that type of team if they keep their recruiting base. If they go and find talent where no one's looking. That's the biggest key to winning in this game, because there's talent everywhere, but people tend to overlook talent to try to get established talent and don't try to go for the hidden gems. And there's a lot of hidden gems out there. And I think the Outlaws will be good in time. This was just a very tough first season. It was the toughest KFFL season ever. And unfortunately for them, they lost some guys from the Brown Spartans, the Mortals merger, and they had to rebuild a little bit, change the identity overall. It was a complete rehaul, complete rebuild. Some would say a reboot, but so far it's about the same as it was with Spartans, but the potential to me is a lot brighter because of the fact that everyone's getting better with each passing week because they're growing in a league that's getting better, as opposed to early on in KFFL where there was nowhere to grow because no one knew the game outside the X-Dogs early on, and a few others who were coming out. And now with that chance to be an actual competitive league, they can learn from the competition if they choose to. Some teams don't do that. Some teams don't sit around and watch games or film. They just go home. I hope those guys are learning. I hope they're watching. Talk to the people out there you see.
And I'll start learning.
Yeah, look up the stuff on YouTube and Facebook. You will learn a lot from this game by watching film and learning from the people who played it and playing against those people. Semi-final, B Spartans. Keith, you played in it. I want your perspective on it.
It was 2 completely different games. The first half, start of the game, both sidelines were both going at it, both excited, both hyped. game starts. Spartans get off to that quick lead, which I have covered enough Spartans games this year to know that they get off to fast starts. And they did that again Saturday. The only difference was the Bees were, well, it was really not much of a difference. The Bees offense was not getting in the end zone. We were moving the ball, but we just weren't getting in the end zone. And our defense into the second quarter, towards the end of the second quarter, we started to get it together. But then at halftime, the leaders on the team, Carlos, Larry, Tyler, they really took control of the huddle. They got everybody together and said, it's time to do this shit. Let's go fucking do this shit. And so they went out and they did that shit. The Bees came out with all the energy. The Spartans still fizzled through the middle of the game. Then eventually the rest of the game. Now, Spartans games, from what I've noticed, they will fizzle out in the middle, but they have a killer start and they have a killer finish. But I think the momentum was all on the Bees side in the fourth quarter. And that may have gotten into the mind of the Spartans and got them out of their own mindset. We scored the second touchdown, and then with just a couple seconds left, we went for a field goal, which was the right decision. I think there was 9 seconds left in the game or something like that. And then they ended up blocking it. That just goes to add to the aura of this game. Of course, there would be a blocked field goal to send it into overtime. And then overtime, the Bees, we scored, and Ant had the beautiful interception in the end zone. And I ran on the field way too prematurely. As soon as Ant's feet hit the ground after catching it, I was out there on the field, and I think probably about half the team was. That was an epic game to be a part of and watch, and that will be one that lives on in Keystone flag football history.
Yeah, that is one of the greatest games of all time. Not just KFFL, but probably 9-man too. Everything about this was a circuit game, start to finish. I had flashbacks to Blackhawks and the WAC Rebels last year in the MAFL championship, very similar game, where it seemed like for about a good 2.5, 3 quarters, the Spartans were going to walk away with it, get the dub, get to the championship, shut down the Bees, make a big statement, because you think about it, this could have been a monumental win for this team. Go out there, beat a Bees team that's full of A talent in the misfits across the board, and do it just as you're entering Charm City Classic, win KFFL. And, I thought about it, like Spartans, I felt like had that potential. But this, I feel like, is a big loss for them. This is a major loss. Like, this is a huge setback. And a large part of it, I put it to the offense. The offense just disappeared after the first half. The Bees D line started breaking through, and that pass rush was vicious all game, all day. Lucas was sacked 10 times in that first game. He was eaten alive. Not much better in that game for Keenan. He did not have any time. And after the first quarter or so, that was it for the Spartans offense. The Spartans offense just never got going for the remainder of that game. And with that happening, the result in the end is ultimately a victory for the Bees, because you take a look at it, and Damian Casar is my guy. He's been the guy all season for that Spartans defense. He showed this year he still has it. He still has it. He's still that guy on the defense side. But, you can't get mad in the last moments like that. You can't blow up in the last moments like that. I get it. You're getting emotional because everything's falling apart, but you got to stay calm. You got to stay cool. You can't start throwing out accusations. You can't start getting mad at officials. This is the issues that plague Dane, and a lot of times they lost games in Washington County. And this is something that just couldn't have happened at a worse time for him. And it was just a case where everything falls apart at once. And for this Tri-State Spartans team, in just a matter of an hour after all the talk and before halftime, they lost everything. And it's going to be interesting to see how they bounce back, which we're going to talk about that a little bit more tomorrow night, because they're not done yet. They still have another playoff game somewhere else. And something tells me Sunday's going to be a trip to. Well, not tomorrow night. But Spartans and KFFL overall, great regular season. Best team that Don's ever fielded. One and done like the program in the spring of 2018. Just like program 18. Great start. Looked fantastic all year. Looked like a championship contender. Had a quarterback at Adam a lot, who looked like an all-pro. Keenan Poulter put up similar numbers. Honestly, Adam and Keenan had very similar years this year to each other for those seasons. Don was involved in that program team too. Don had a hand in that team in the offseason, merging the Greencastle Antrim Spartans with them. And when it comes, it's just a shame because these teams, he does build great teams, but for some reason in the postseason, they fall apart at the worst times. And for the Spartans, it's happened. It's not the first time. They've collapsed many times, and it's just something that seems to be a pattern with that team. Just the old patterns come back to haunt you. You look what happened with Dane. And you go back to what happened with him in Hagerstown 18 against Scorpions. Several penalties, first penalties, gave Scorpions yards to make the comeback happen in the fourth quarter. Shout out to Nick Aliff, though. He had a lot to do with that comeback. Shout out to the Bees, though. They had a lot to do with that comeback. Shout out to Tay, though. He had a lot to do with that comeback. Tay Sosa, postseason Tay, showed up in big form. The real MVP to me was Lurie, though. Lurie had 4 touchdowns in those first 2 games. And he balled out the entire weekend. Lurie was a monster out there. Nick came in at center. That center position was struggling for the Bees. Nick's always been a load to go against. He's somebody who you don't want to line up against in an Oklahoma drill. He will run you over with no regard. And he showed that same physicality in the trenches. He showed he can play in the trenches. He's not just a skill guy. He's an all-around athlete and a baller at that position. He is a very good weapon that Aliff is. And he showed why on Saturday he was a very valuable asset to the team. You got to give it to this Beast team for the comeback. Spartan collapse aside, this was a monumental effort. This was a very difficult task. This was a defense that had a lot of talent on it, was led by somebody who had led multiple championship defenses. And it was a game where nothing was going right. The line was getting blown up. The center had nothing going. I sat there in the third and thought, this game's over. I can't see the Bees coming back. And the Bees, just out of nowhere, put Aliff in, offense gets going, championship, Bees stepping up. Got to give it to them. They get the dub in this one. 21-14, I believe.
21-14.
21-14. I don't know where 17 he's popping up my head from. The field goal, I guess, is throwing me off. But, yeah, that was a great game. That was a classic. That was one to remember and one that I feel like is going to breed a lot of tension going to next year. Killer Bees and Spartans. Is it a rivalry? Is this an actual rivalry? Not the OG Spartans, the Don Brown Spartans. Like we talked before, Spartans and program was a pretty big rivalry this time last year. Are we starting to see a rivalry here between the Killer Bees and the Tri-State Spartans. Think about it. All the times you guys played in COVID scrimmages last year, at least every weekend. I get it. That was your own social group for hangouts, the Spartans. It's all good. Got to keep the group small. Ned Championship, Ocean City. This season, this is a rivalry.
This is what every division of football needs. Every division of football needs that Cowboys Washington football team, Eagle or Redskin or Steelers and Ravens.
Or Rams.
This is Rams versus what?
Seahawks.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry, you cut out on there. On me a
20-year
little bit.
war. The Seahawks. It's been a 20-year war.
But yeah, and this has the makings of being one of the great rivalries in football in our area. Absolutely. Because they're bitter for next year. They're chomping at the bit to get back to the field. So this is going to be something to build the future on.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. The biggest thing for Tri-State is keep the team they got together. I know Christian said he's heading to school in the fall. It's a big loss for them. Hopefully we get a chance to see him on the field a few more times before then. But there's plenty of talent in West Virginia to pull from. Damn Dame's going to come back with a vengeance. It's going to be very interesting to see what Tri-State does, especially with them entering the Charm City Classic. They got Washington County playoffs on Sunday. It's not over for them yet. Saturday was a big loss. There are many battles yet to be won.
They have a championship contending team. I mean, that's inarguable. Whatever their issue was Saturday and whatever the reason why they fizzled out after the second quarter, if they can figure out what caused that issue internally, I mean, they can win any championship they sign up for.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. They definitely have that potential in their team. We're definitely keeping an eye on.
But the middle of the game just kills them.
That's going to be key. Can Keenan play a complete game against a similar kind of team comes Sunday? Not the scouting Warriors, but UNR is going to be a huge threat for the Spartans.
I can't wait to see that. You giving UNR their love, and it was like pulling teeth to get some outlaw love out of you. Outlaws UNR. Oh, we need to make that happen. If Grant, Tom, any of you guys watching, we need a UNR Outlaws specialty match.
2 out of 3. Make it a 2 out of 3 falls match.
2 out of 3 falls match. I think we can make that happen. I think we need to make that happen. Jamie, if you're watching this.
I don't know that UNR have trail back at QD.
Yeah, well, they have trail this week. Yeah, do they have trail this weekend? Wait, this show's not for another night. We gotta stop talking about that. Sorry, we got a lot going on over here in our camp this weekend. Busy Sunday. It's back to Saturday. Get off me, fly. Don't bother me. But those dang cicadas that fell on the bell the other day.
I want to hit me right in the side of the head, dude.
Man, that one got me right in the face and then got right in the girl's chest. It was hilarious. Good times. Semi-final, X-Dogs prime time. This was a close game.
This was a good game.
Yeah, like prime time came out to play, and for a bit there, I kind of thought they were going to pull it out. I really thought they might have a shot at winning. They played X-Dogs extremely tough in that game. That was a very competitive game. That was a very fun game to watch. Like I said, with prime time, they've been bringing it all year, dude. Like they deserve a lot of respect for how they've come out to play this year. Yeah, you can talk about a lot of the anger and issue. New teams have that issue. Remember, Ross, you remember how TNT had a hard time fitting into the area at first?
Yeah.
How long it took TNT to acclimate to what we were doing? And nowadays, look at it. Dane's part of the league. Cannon's here still. AJ's here. They're all here. They all joined. They were just like Prime Time many years ago. I could definitely see a lot of resemblance between Prime Time and Too Much Talent. The question is, do they find their Chris Boone? There's a lot of talented York quarterbacks over there. We'll see. We'll see. X Dogs versus Killer Bees Championship. Keith, walk us through.
Man, I gotta say one thing. I thought primetime at the moment, while I was at the start of that game, something was telling me primetime was gonna win. But I really wanted to play the X Dogs because I knew that was gonna be my last game. And I wanted one more chance to finally beat the X Dogs. And yeah, so that's one reason I'm glad the X Dogs won that game. But as far as the championship game goes, we got off to the lead and really never looked back. You know, we played pretty even throughout the whole game. Offense moved. They didn't really have long periods of stuttering. They moved pretty fluidly. Our defense played lockdown for 3.5 quarters. Gave up a touchdown like halfway through the fourth quarter to make it a little bit closer than needed to be. But defense held on. X Dogs were driving, trying to tie it up as time was running out. And I believe it was a 4th down incomplete pass that sealed it for my Killer Bees. It was a fun game to be a part of. It was a fun game to watch. I'm glad to finally. It was real sweet for my final game to beat the X Dogs because we had never done that before. That was the first time the Killer Bees have ever beaten the X Dogs.
And yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, that was a crowning moment.
Yeah,
that's why
cool.
that's why Saturday was a pretty big deal for Killer Bee Nation. Like you look at the journey they've been on for the last few years. Started out as a 7-man team out there in PA. The league they were in dissolved. They took some guys from that league to form the KFFL in the spring of 2018. They were a captain. They were an OG in the beginning. They were a founding father of the league. Them, Spartans / Browns / Outlaws. They were founding fathers of the league. X Dogs were a founding father. Shout out to the other people who were there in the beginning as well. Chef Flip Gators and Sean Riley. No matter what many people think about Sean, the Gators were a big deal in KFL in the beginning. They were a team that could have been a dynasty early on. They were the game the first 2 times. They gave the Immortals a fight in that semifinal too back in 2019, but ultimately they're not with us anymore. The Browns of Corey Jones, they were a founding father. I'd like to see Corey Jones come back with the Browns one day. Because I thought Corey's teams were very competitive. Yeah, I thought he and Brian Thompson were doing some good coaching. Yeah, it's a shame that it didn't work out that next season, but I do feel like he'd be someone great to bring back. The current park ranger, Travis, I believe his name is, he was on the med squad student or Shippensburg University team that played in the league in 2018 too. The only team that scored on the X Dogs, a bunch of college kids and shit. They're going to tell that story to their grandkids.
They should.
Yeah.
Should call it Matt Eisenberg to speak with the university and everything.
They should have renamed the university Matt Eisenberg University.
University.
Mediae State.
MIU.
I don't know. That's Jason Brady's college.
There you go.
That's a Janita guy.
Matty Brady University.
I like it. But Killer Bees, you're champion. 2014. What's 2021? Jesus.
You
Here,
named
do you-
that fellow because you told Brady that he played ball like a girl.
Look at that championship trophy. Keith, start talking to me and not me, you and not me.
Oh, I'm trying to get the trophy on here for us, but my backdrop's making it a little difficult. So yeah, it came home with me for a week or two. I wanted to show it off on the show and taking good care of her. She'll be going back to Eric. Some of the bees, myself, and some of the other ones, we are getting our own different style replica trophies made. I had a style made for the 2018 fall championship that we won, and I showed it to the guys, and so we're all going. So a good chunk of us are going to get our own trophies to keep at home because this was definitely a good one. And for me personally, like, I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. We had a lot of A talent out there, and those guys were on the field the majority of the time, going hard, playing hard. And, without them, it's not possible. So Tay, Larry, Tyler, all you guys, that was epic. Final day of football.
Indeed, 100% for real. That was an awesome day. Like, I liked every moment about it. Like, it was a really good feeling. I put a video up after the games on Saturday night. It was one of those days that really hit hard on an emotional level as they love the game. It's always good to get out there, see everybody, play the sport, have a couple drinks after. It was a good night. It was a good time. It was a beautiful day. Sunshine came out right at the fourth quarter began, and it was a day to remember, and probably the greatest day in league history, honestly.
I would have to agree with that. I mean, look at the first championship game was what, 40 to nothing, 44 to nothing.
Yeah.
And this one was 22 to 14. So, I mean, it's it's a lot better. And with the two OG teams in it again, it was kind of storybook in a way to show the growth. It really gives you a point A to point B.
Yeah. And the story came full circle this Saturday.
Yes, it did.
So let's move on now. Season's over. Next season, we already saw Misfits are in. So with Misfits back, it's going to be their first season. It says to fall in 19. It's going to be curious to see what Regan does bring. I do believe that the Bees guys they had will definitely be gone. The Bees will be rebuilding, which is going to be interesting to watch and see how they can rebuild. X-Dogs will be in. Outlaws have already said they're coming back. I haven't heard from Prime Time, but I'd like to have Prime Time back. I know Jamie Lagana at York was talking about putting the team in. I know Brandon Dietz over in Hanover is talking about putting the team in. I've also heard that there could be another team in the fold whose jerseys have been popping up at a lot of different games. Yeah. No matter what league you're watching, there's a Demons jersey popping up. And we saw what the Demons could do at the 4-state fours. What's going to happen when the Demons come to the KFFL? Because Sean Parker is ready to show that he's the best player in the 4-state. It's his time now. And I'm looking forward to seeing if they show up. They're a possibility. Who else could become? That's going to be the biggest question coming into the next season. I get the feeling this is going to be the biggest season yet this fall. What you're going to see this fall at a KFFL might be greater than what you may have seen out of Washington County the last few years of what we've been doing.
And I'll tell you what, if Washington County ends up going down, man, KFFL is really going to blow the lid off the place. There's going to be so many teams vying to get in there. There's going to be so many players ready to go. It is going. We thought this.
I don't think I'm not ready to count out the league. I'm not
Not
gonna,
yet.
Yeah, I'm not going to disparage. I'm not going to disparage our hometown league like that. Because honestly, I'm not going to say they're down and out, but there is something called reform, which can lead to something greater than what we've had this whole time because the potential there. Hagerstown and Shippensburg coexisted before. Why can't we coexist together?
Oh, absolutely. But they got to get off that boat ramp.
I know a park on 67 that would take care of all that.
Or that. Yeah, just got to get off that boat ramp. That is the only issue.
They need to change the field alignment so instead of like playing on the other side of the bridge, you play under the bridge. Like literally, the field runs under the bridge on one.
I mean that probably.
If you kick the ball over the bridge, it's worth 10 points.
10 points.
Yes.
Oz, you hear that challenge, my man?
Kyle Marshall, you hear that
Kyle
challenge,
Marshall
my man?
made that happen.
Did he?
He would have. That was your thing.
I think Tim Miller could do it.
I know Kyle would do it.
Yeah. Anyways, let's get off that topic. We got to stop going back to that. You can tell that I really want to do the Warrior show tomorrow night. KFFL wrap up. But you see the potential. Honestly, like I said, I would love to see if Washington County can't get permits to play in Hagerstown. If they're back at Marty Snook, that's all good. All power to them. But I'd like to see is if we're both on Saturdays, play together.
Little interleague play.
Yeah, that's what I want. I'd love to see interleague play. Like OMFFL at Maple were doing several springs ago. And something where, I'd like to see Broad Axe take on the Killer Bees. That was a game I was hoping to see at Ocean City, honestly. But we didn't get a chance to watch.
That would be a good game.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great game. I think it'd be good for the Spartans as well because they would have one league here and be able to focus their attentions elsewhere too. Because Donovan seems like they're trying to play multiple places. You look at it from a potential matchup perspective. Like I said, I'd love to get Baez Auto over here. It'd be great to get Baez Auto over here. Have them take on the X Dogs, Southern PA's old guard versus the new guard of the state. There's a lot of potential to what this league could be in 2021 this fall coming up. And I honestly do believe we can make this work and make this happen.
I think it could be a very beautiful. The thought of the interleague play is just wonderful. You have 2-3 games in the middle of the schedule. I think it'd be great. We need to make that happen. We need to make that happen.
I think we need to make it happen. I'm calling for it right now. I'm going to throw it out there. Tom Hoffman, let's make this work.
Eric, my man, let's make this work.
Let's do it. But let's first talk about something else. Keith, as everybody knows, your career wound down this Saturday. This is about time we give a retrospective on the career of Keith Giles. Let's take it from the beginning, Keith. Tell us, when did you ever play the sport of football growing up? Were you a football player or were you someone who discovered the game as time was going on?
I mean, I grew up loving football just like every other kid, watching it on TV. My grades in school were not the greatest just because I didn't put my all into it. So I never played ball in school. I played flag football in gym class. And actually, I have 7 fake teeth from flag football in gym class. I went to grab a guy's flag. He did a spin move in the air and elbowed me in the mouth and just shattered everything. So that was my introduction to flag football. As far as outside of school, I did a job, and a guy I worked with was a ref in the Everett 6-man flag league. And so I went out to play out there, and I was wide receiver and backup quarterback. We had a good quarterback. He was actually going to come on tonight, but it's late. He has to get up real early for work, so he's not able to be on. But I have a couple. We didn't have much game film from out in Everett because there wasn't the recording of the games like there is today. I had no idea of like flag football shows. So I only have a couple clips of me out there, but I used to be a burner before my back really started to take into effect. And then one day my girl saw a message or post by Eric Carty on Facebook about flag football and ship. And so I decided, well, now I'm going to do both. And the 6-man league, never won the title, made the championship game once. I had my fair share of touchdowns, had my fair share of good plays, had my fair share of blunders, and a couple drops. But it was a extremely fun ride and a great way to start a flag football career.
So from there, you went to Shippensburg for KFL. How'd you get introduced to 9-man? What was your first 9-man game?
The first 9-man game, I believe, was against the Ship Flip Gators. And it was intense. I hadn't done anything like that at all before. So I had a huge learning curve to make up for. Thankfully, a lot of people in the league hadn't really seen a whole lot of that yet. So I was learning with everybody else. The only people that knew about it was the X-Dogs, and they taught us real quick the intensity you have to have and the passion you have to show on the field. And it just kind of grew from there. I came into my own. I was a very good defensive end. I even did some kicking with the Bees, punting, played some tight end earlier on. Looking back at it now, I started to really shank and not kick so hard the punts. And when I was kicking field goals, I was shanking them a lot. And I wasn't all entirely sure what was happening. And then now, kind of in retrospect, my back, I'm starting to have issues with my foot where it gets tingly, and hence why I'm stopping to play. So I was really starting to lose too much of my ability, and I did not want to be a liability for my team, because I didn't feel like, I think I only had 3 sacks this year, which I had like 15 last year. That's a huge drop. Granted, I didn't have as much playing time this year. We had a whole lot of stars, and you put the best 9 on the field. And this year, I just didn't feel like one of the best 9. So I get my surgery done. I rehab hard. I get into better shape, maybe lose the dad bod a little bit. It would take a pretty much perfect scenario for me to ever be able to play again, I believe. But, that's going to be my goal. I just want to be able to throw the ball with my kids and teach my kids how to play. And that's my main goal. If I could play football on the field again before I finish college, that'd be great. But I'm going to enjoy being on the sidelines with Eric and helping the Bees build up and helping the league grow in any way I can. I made a pitch to Eric, actually, to talk to Parks and Rec about getting me a lifeguard chair for at the field. That way I can film the game from above. And I would also like to attempt on record to keep stats for the league. So, because that's something that, the X-Dogs, they have their own statistician, but I don't believe there's any league out there that, keeps stats for the league. I don't know if York does. I don't believe so, but I think that would give the KFFL that special something extra if we were able to keep stats for them also. So that's where my goal is moving forward.
I'm looking forward to seeing how the league grows, how you grow, how we all grow these next few years. This was a great season, this 2021 spring season. And with fall looming ahead, I'm looking forward to seeing what comes next. Any final thoughts tonight, Keith?
Final thoughts. Absolutely stellar year. Absolutely stellar season. The show has been great. This is the season finale, I suppose. We will possibly, if the Survivor Series goes down, we could get a special episode in there. But this has been a great pleasure to do the show with you, Joey.
Yes, sir.
I have learned a lot. Everybody that's tuned in, watched, supported. I am ultimately grateful and appreciative of all the support. So thank you all for watching, tuning in, giving me love, giving me criticism. And I hope next season, since I won't be necessarily on the field, I'll be able to give a little bit better insight and, grow into this role a little bit more. I had to grow into my role with the Bees. I got to grow into my role with the broadcasting.
You remind me a lot of a young Joey Bassford about 3 to 4 years ago. Whatever
like-
happened to that kid, though? We'll see. We'll see.
Hey, I'm hoping for the best. This is what I'm going to school for. I want my next job to be, believe it or not, WWE, because they have a working relationship with my college. So, that would be a dream. And you're helping me with that dream and, helping me with college. All this is helping me with college. Like, this is giving me something that no other student, I would be willing to say, would ever have to offer. So to everybody watching, Joey, Ross, when you've been here, my man, it's been a pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, Keith. We'll see you on the field behind the camera,
Behind the camera.
but still going the extra yard. Congratulations, Killer Bees. Thank you, Keith Giles. KFFL, we'll see you next season here on the Extra Yard.
Good night, everybody.
Warriors tomorrow night, 9 p.m., Washington County. It's playoff prediction time.